Hello everyone, Ceri the Crafter here, that's C-E-R-I the Crafter, and I'm here with a little bit of an inspired make today. Now I'll tell you a bit more about the inspiration in a few minutes as I start the process going along, but you'll obviously see we have a jelly plate here. This is my 12 by 12. I also have my 5 by 7 with me, and I've got a new plate that I ordered the other day because I thought it was really cute, and it's 3 inches by 5 inches. So I have a few things I wanted to do, but the main thing about this one is I'm going to be working on a canvas. Now, before we get started, let's address the thing about a canvas, okay? I intend jelly printing onto a canvas, and I will explain as I go along why I've decided to try this, but there are inherent problems, I think, in doing what I'm doing, because I've never printed onto a canvas before, so I think there's going to be problems. First of all, we have the flexibility of the canvas. Now, the thing is, yes, you're all going to give me comments going, but you could put something in the back. There's a problem with that. As you can see, there's a ridge here in the frame. So if I press something down on here, I can feel that ridge. That ridge is likely to translate into a mark in the jelly printing. If I put something in here that's got an edge to it, I then could end up with a double ridge to it. So I'm going to have to do a combination of putting the canvas onto the plate itself, and then with the smaller ones actually lifting it off its acrylic back and actually putting it onto the canvas, because then it'll bend and the acrylic plate would have kept it straight. So I've got a few problems to start with, but nothing that's insurmountable. I'm just going to have some fun with this. Without further ado, let's get started, and then I can talk to you as we go along, and I can tell you other things that went on. Now, I do have kind of one thing that slightly bothers me, is when I put a canvas onto a gel plate, I don't know that it's going to be fully in contact unless I do that with my fingers. So I've got a big plastic scraper. Now this one is just one from my bakery days. This used to be for smoothing around the side of a cake, and I have a lot of them, so I pulled one in my craft room, and I like this because I can slide it under the frame and I can actually smooth down to make sure that it's fully in contact with the plate before I lift it off the plate. So that's my aim anyway. So as I've said, I have no real idea how this is going to work. I'm going to do my best to make it work. And we'll see where we go from here. So I'm going to start with the big one because I obviously don't want this to be a complete white, and I'm going to try and go around the edges, but I'm not overly bothered if I don't go around the edges. So I'm just going to start getting some paint onto this plate just to give it a bit of a background colour. So I'm going to use, first of all, I'm going to use this Americana Deco Art Buttermilk because I love that colour, and I want to stay with sort of warm tones for this. So I don't want to go too dark too quickly. So let's have a little bit of a look over here. I think I might put a little bit of burnt sienna in there. And I think we'll just stick with those two at the moment. Oh, that one's stuck on for days, isn't it? Just a little bit of this. I do not want this to be very dark, because when I do gel printing, I do tend to get my best results if I start with lighter colours and work to darker colours. Just a touch of something gold in there. I've got yellow oxide, there you go, from golden. Let's put a little touch of that in there, just to give it a little touch of a zing, should we call it. Now I'm just going to grab my speedball brayer, and I'm going to kind of just mess these around with each other, just so that they're not all the same. Now, I'm not worried whether I cover the entire plate properly. I'm not worrying if I cover the entire canvas with it. Again, as with anything gel printing, it's all about layers. And I do have a paper over here to actually clean off on. Right, so I'm going to take my canvas, and I'm literally going to pop it down, and I'm going to come in with my smoother. If you are looking to buy one of these, I think they're called side scrapers for cake decorating or sugar craft. I just know them as a smoother. So actually in bakery days, I think we did used to call them a scraper, to be honest. Right, lift that off gently. Okay, that's given me a nice start. See what I mean? I'm going to have issues with the corners. So I'm going to come in and just press down to make sure I'm covering areas. and I'm going to try and roll around and pick up on the edges or the ends, as you can see. Now, it doesn't bother me if I don't get them all perfect. I'm trying to deal with not being perfect nowadays, because I find if I strive to be perfect, I end up causing myself anxiety. I don't enjoy what I'm doing, and as we all know, perfection is unachievable. So I've got the start of that on there. Let's see if I can pick up just a little bit more on this end. Did I just tap you? Sorry. You're directly in line with my top of my head, so I'm hoping I don't hit you too often. So, not sure how much I'm going to get off this. Just trying to build up layers, as I said. Just trying to get some layers down. Right, I'm happy with where that's at the... I can't say that, can I? I'm happy with where that's at the moment, but I do want to add another colour to that now. I like that. I like the almost sandy tawniness of it. And I think I'd like to come in and play with a little bit more colour into that. I mean, I've got a transparent yellow. That might punch that up too much, but actually, if I put transparent yellow and a little bit of copper in there, there you go. So you can see obviously which brands they are. I'll rotate them so you can see the numbers. So I'm just going to, big dab of glue on there. So let's put that to one side. So anyway, so where did this inspiration come from? Okay, it's come from two different sources. As you all know, there's another one with a big dab in the head. I throw these out. I don't keep these guys. I have no idea what people are going to do with them. They're busily keeping them, and I'm going, why? Why do you want to keep it? But I mean, I was thinking if I was doing resins, I could make a paperweight with all of them in it, and that I'd probably use that, to be honest with you, as a baron or something. But anyway, I digress. So as you all know, well, there's probably a lot of you know by now if you watch my videos. Sorry about the sun coming and going. The sun just tends to do that, especially as it's summertime here in Britain, in the UK, and in Wales. We very rarely see the sun for large amounts of time, so I'm quite happy that it's here, but it will come and go. It's a cloudy and overcast day. So right, I'm going to try and keep my canvas in horizontal or vertical. I don't particularly want any straight lines. So anyway, as you may well know, if you follow me, I'm a fan of Froyle Davies, who's a wonderful, imaginative and creative artist in New Zealand who uses lots of vibrant colour. She does canvases and collages, she does art pieces. I absolutely love her work, and I love her personality, and I love the energy that she puts into the world. And the other day I was watching one of hers, and one of her videos, by the way, and where she normally, so I'm just trying to put a bit more on the edges here, where she normally does an art journal page, she'd actually decided to do, I'm quite liking the way the edges of this are looking. Hopefully you can see them. I'm obviously going to end up with very messy hands. Let's pop that on there so I don't pick up any of those little bits, just build up that background. I was just saying, the other day she decided that she wouldn't work in her art journal, she would actually work on an 8x8 inch canvas, and the results were beautiful and I absolutely loved it. I thought, I like that, I'm going to have a go at a canvas, because painting and canvases are not really something I can say that I do or have done, but I'm always up for a challenge. Right, I'm liking that. I know there's bits on here that are still got white on them, but they will eventually get covered up. So let's put that one to the side. I do have a white cleanup sheet, and I have some of my 12x12s that are at the stage where they really need some more work, so I can clean up with that. I also have tissue as well. So anyway, Froyle did that, and she did a fabulous job of doing collage tissue papers and elements onto a canvas. And I thought, oh, that's a good idea, because I already collage onto canvas boards, but I've only just started collaging onto canvases. And then Patricia at PM Artist Studio, I think it was last week, quite like the way that's going. I think last week it was, actually was using smaller plates to print onto a piece of paper, and she built up these designs and all the elements, and that looked absolutely amazing as well. And I went, you know what, I like that idea as well. So the thing was, I thought, well, why don't I try and combine the skills I saw from Patricia, which is PM Artist Studios, sorry, I always call it Studios, PM Artist Studio, and I combine her technique with that of Froyle's onto a canvas. So that's where the idea came from. So I was just trying to clean that off, but that's one that hasn't made the grade in the past. So a little bit of adding on. Right, I'm not sure I'm going to be using this plate a lot. I'm just going to be want to use it for the background, and I'm loving the background. So I'm going to put this to one side. There's some gunk on there. Go leave it on there just in case I've got time at the end of this to actually just go ahead and possibly do a final clean-up pull. So I think I want to clean this up before I end up wearing it. There you go. So anyway, so I will try and put a link in the description box, which is down there. It's either a little grey V, or if there's a description, it might say read more or see more. In there will be, I'm going to try and put a link to one of the lives that Patricia and Mariah did about printing gel prints onto paper, and she did a fabulous job of it. I was so inspired by that. And I will also try and put the link to the first YouTube that Froyle did, sharing how she collaged onto a canvas. So I will try and put those in place for you. Right, so I've got these two here. I'm going to work on this one next. Actually, do I want to work on that one next? Maybe I don't want to work on that one. Maybe I should work on this little one just to add some elements onto this. It's a bit tricky because I haven't really made up my mind in which orientation this is going to end up. It's probably going to be portrait, to be honest with you. This one is a no brand colour. It's one that I've just emptied other bottles into. Now I'm going to have to be careful because as you heard me say, I've never used this plate, so I'm not actually certain how much paint I should put on it. And I think maybe I'd like to pull in something that would give me a little bit of background to start with. So I'm going to pull in the rustic gears. Are they the same? Are they two the same? I think they are two the same. I'm not sure. I'm not going to go and try and marry them up anyway, but I only really need one of them. So I'm going to put down some paint on here. And I'm just going to... Actually, I'm not going to use one of them. I'm going to use two of them. There you go. How contrary was that? So come in and press them down gently. I don't want them really moving. Let's get a little bit of tissue paper just to lift off the start of this. Now this is just basically adding and subtracting paint, and this plate seems so tiny. I'm used to using a 12 by 12, so to go to a 5 by 3 for me is really very, very different. But never mind, that's good. It's all part of a challenge. So I'm just trying to get down in there to make sure I've lifted out any of the bits, and that will then give me the pattern which is left on there. And I'm going to move quite quickly because I don't know how quick this paint dries. As I said, this is going to be slightly tricky in that I have to lift it up every time, and I'm going to lay it onto my canvas. Let's put these up here out the way so I don't end up sticking them together. So let's lift that off there. Right, so it's given me one piece. I've got a bit more down there. I think I'm going to do another one of those. I'll do exactly the same thing, but maybe put the mask down the middle so that I've got the same imagery, but in a different direction. Let's take one of those. Put it right down the middle. Oh, nice fit there, loving that. So I'm just going to come in with a bit of tissue just to take off the excess. And then I might, because I am a person who usually, my screen, I find it hard to see whether I'm in screen. Sorry if I veer off from screen. It's just I can't actually see through my camera currently, so I'm assuming I'm in screen, and I'm probably not. So there you go. Now, if you do watch all the way to the end, guys, I do have a special discount code that I've been sent by PM Artist Studio as a gift that I can offer to you, so look out for that one at the end. That's got a nice amount of stuff on it. Let's lift that around and pop that up there. Give it a gentle press down. Now, because the paint underneath isn't 100% dry, because I'm working, as you see me, I'm working, I'm not really giving a lot of drying time. I'm trying to give it a few seconds just to grip to the stuff underneath. Clean that off my brayer. So now I've got some left on here. I might just try and see if I can get something off that. Oh, I can. A little bit down there as well. Right, so I've got this plate that's now dirty. I'm just going to use a damp rag, or it's actually a face cloth, to be honest with you. I'm going to keep my plate clean because I don't need to build up a whole load of the similar colour all of the time. I want to make sure that I've got cleanish plates. Right, I've got a permanent magenta here, and I know I like this permanent magenta. Not that I don't like the other stuff on here, but I really do like this permanent magenta. So I think I'm going to pull in cellular membrane. And I quite like, well, not quite like, I obviously like this one. As you can see, I like it. So I'm going to use this permanent magenta, if I can get it open again. Now, there you go. Now, this is a transparent colour, so no, there probably is enough. I'm going to leave it by there, just in case I don't have enough on that plate. I can be a little heavy-handed with my paints, so I struggle with knowing how much to add. Right, I like the idea of that, but I'd quite like to only get those marks on here. So this is going to be a bit tricky, guys. So pop that down and press right down upon it. Now, there's probably another way of doing this that's far easier than I'm doing it. I just don't know what that is yet. Okay, that was nice. I like that. What I've got under there is interesting, but I don't necessarily want it on there, so I'm just going to take the one we printed earlier on and just lift it off onto this one. Now, I don't have a Baron. A Baron is one of those, it looks like a giant doorknob that you smooth down your prints with. I tend to use a large brayer for that, so just lift that off. Okay, that's given me a little bit of something on there. Clean up sheets sometimes end up as an adventure for me. Okay, I like that. I'd quite like it in a couple more places on here, but not as a full strip, so I might just, yes, I do have enough on this brayer. That's good. Right, let's put this back on here so I know that it covered it. Right, let's try and take in some corners. Hopefully I'm in shot. I think I am. Right, I've got a little bit. I'm finding the corners are the tricky bits for me. It's really tricky to press down on the corners with the frame in the way. So, but I do my best. As I said, it's a learning curve. Okay, liking that. I've got interest in the back there. Let's lift that off and put it out the way. Okay, so I've got all of that on there. Now, I don't necessarily want everything to be blocks of colour. I'd quite like there to be some interest in there. I did have copper on there, which didn't hugely show up, but that's fine because I've always got the other layers to go. I quite like the orangeness of this. I think I'd like to put, to be honest with you, some of the buttermilk in here again, just to keep burying some of those colours. Now I'm going to try and do the technique which I call kissing, which is where I gently rest paper normally onto the gel plate just to add little pieces. Not sure I'm going to be able to do that holding the gel plate. I've got a horrible feeling I'm going to drop this gel plate at some point. But flip that over. So just going to come in. Right, that was kind of what I wanted. Okay, let's put a little bit of this on the edges because as Froyle pointed out in her video, when you hang a canvas on the wall, it can be seen from the edge. So let's just utilize that and put it on there. There you go. Right, I'll probably put that upside down from the way it was before, but that doesn't bother me. I'm okay with that. Right, I've still got paint on my brayer. I'm just going to clean it off onto there. And when I was talking about the kissing technique, what I mean is I literally just tap it down and it lifts off pieces of the paintwork onto here. And as you can see, you get random pieces of paint on your backgrounds. I find that interesting. Hopefully you do as well. So there you go. Right. So where am I up to? Right, let me have a quick think at the moment. So I've gone lighter to dark. I've now put light in again to push that into the background. So a bit of a clean up on my hands in this plate. I now need to think about what is the future going to hold for this. Is it going to stay this colour? Is it going to be amended in some way? What am I going to be adding to it? I think I want to add something else to this now. Now I'm looking at this geometric Polynesian here, and I'm liking the thought of this. And as you can see, I've never used this, so I'm excited to use it. I might at some point cut around this and take away the edging, but to be honest with you, that works perfectly. Oh, there's a bit in there. That works perfectly for what I'm about to do because it masks off the rest of this. So, right, I've got some Pantheon blue. No, I haven't. I've got Prussian blue. Now, I've never used this before. I only bought this yesterday. There was a sale at my Hobbycraft, and I went down and stocked up on some paint because I thought I was running low on paint. Anyone who's seen my paint collection will probably go, really? Yes, it might be an addiction, people, but I like my paint, so. Right, so I'm going to pop this over the top of this. And I'm going to try and introduce this to this. Now, I can see this is here, so I would like to do this in that orientation. Again, pushing down my fingers to try and push through. Also, I'm going to go under this wooden frame, and hopefully that adding that plastic spray prime will help me pick up some of this. And it has. I like that. That's a bit of drama there. Right, have I got enough? I might be able to get a bit more off there. Let's try down here as well. Just a little bit of that. Maybe a little bit, if I can get it to go around the corner. Oh, there you go. I got it to go around the corner. Oh, I didn't know I could do that. Okay, I like that. I like that idea. Right, let's lift some of that off with tissue paper. The tissue papers I use, by the way, as cleanups will eventually just end up going into a big box, which I use to collage with. And anyone who follows me on a regular basis will know I collage quite a bit. So I've done that. Let's see what's under here. Now, I could attempt to press that onto here, but it's always a bit of an unknown quantity, so I don't think I'm going to. I've got some nice stuff happening on here. This is a really, really dark piece. Oh, and that's actually, I might use that one. That one's better. Right, let's come in and just touch that down and lift pieces off this. I'm going to turn it so that I'm just collecting random pieces of it. There you go, that's making that a little more interesting, isn't it? So let's come in and take that bit out of there because there was a white place. Okay, that's giving me something on there that I didn't have before. I very much doubt I'm going to get any more off this because this paint feels like it's drying. And I have been warned that Prussian blue does dry really quickly. The Prussian blue I was using is by PBO Studio Acrylics. Now, I live in Wales, as I said, where it is quite humid all the time, so or wet, should I say, to be honest with you. So I don't think I would have the drying problems that maybe someone in a dry climate has. So, right, where am I up to now? So I've got dark in there, so I'm beginning to add drama. I'm tempted to add green, but I think green really is the wrong choice. Right, I want to use Tangle Trudy next. I really like Tangle Trudy because of all the different shapes within it. I think there are a couple of... I think there's two versions of Tangle Trudy. I can't remember what the other one's called, though it's not called Trudy. But I like this. It's an interesting selection of shapes. Anyone who is out there doodling, this is a great one to doodle into. Or even if you do Zentangle, you can get in there and do pieces. It's an interesting piece anyway. Right, I think I want to go to a purple. I want to make sure that I put some metallics into this too, because I find metallics really make things come to life. I'm having a thought as to whether I should really introduce some white here. Don't clean this off over your plate, because I do that often and I get the stuff all over my gel plate and then I'm forever picking it out. Right, I'm going to try and put little bits of white in there. That's probably way too much white. I've probably got way too much colour on here now. And I want to try and keep them so I've got not so much, well, kind of an ombre, but I quite like this sort of look. I can't explain to you exactly what I mean by it. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to pop that one down. Right, I want to take off the background so that when I put it onto the plate, all I'm actually doing is putting the geometric shapes on there. I might have a bit too much paint on here. I have a feeling I might do, but I'm okay with that. I can deal with that. Are you seeing me? You are seeing me. Move that over slightly. I think you can see a bit better there. So, isn't that lovely? I love that design. Right, I've got more than enough paint on there. I think I can get another pull off that. These would be great for, as I said, when I do collage. Interest in there. Loving that. So anyway, that's a little bit about Froyle. I highly recommend going over there. Very entertaining, very talented. I love her invention. I love her experimentation. Absolutely love Froyle. And the other people I've referred to are Patricia and Mariah, who are PM Artist Studio. Now, you've seen me use their products many times because I have an entire dedicated playlist to PM Artist Studio, as you know. I think I'm going to put that down by there. I love what they do. I have quite a few of their stencils, as you can imagine. I enjoy promoting them. I enjoy what they do. I enjoy the way they support our artistic community. And they do lives 3 times a week. I try to actually join them for at least 1 live, if not 2 lives a week. So if you do pop over there, please tell them Ceri sent you. And if I'm there, I will make sure I give you a shout out and a big hello. And I'm going to turn this around just so that I like the fact that I can turn it around. Otherwise, I will keep working in the same area. I'm going to go to the smaller plate again. I'm thinking I'm going to use the Asemic writing as my focal point. I've got some bubble, obviously hugely use this bubble wrap. Actually, it's changed my mind and go back to this plate and pick up a metallic that might go with this. Now, copper would be the obvious choice to this, but I'm not sure that it's dramatically different enough for this. I've got, what's this one? This is bronze. How bronze is bronze? I've got a feeling this is a really transparent paint. Wondering whether I want to put gold on here. Why don't I do a bit of gold and a bit of bronze on the same one? There you go. That's altered that dilemma, isn't it? Okay, now I'm doing a trick that I've seen Patricia do at PM Artist Studios when she wants to create an ombre. She'll put a dot in one corner of one colour and a dot of the opposing colour in the opposite corner, and then she'll brayer them and work them together, and it gives you a wonderful brayer, a wonderful ombre effect. So I'm just going to leave that now. I've got quite a bit of paint on there, and that was on purpose because I want to come in and lift quite a bit of paint and then go back to it. So let's come in. I think I'd like some up there. Well, it is pretty invisible, but that's actually not a problem. I'm going to try and wrap this around. I can see I'm going to have to give my white mat. Wow, that's a blast of sunshine. Where the heck did that one come from? I'm going to have to clean my mat afterwards, but it is on the acrylic, so I shouldn't get a problem with that. Let's do that. Let's just lift this up and wrap this around the corner. See if I can get any of the detail to travel. I can see it on here. You may not be able to see it because of the sun shining on it. When the sun goes down, oh, the sun goes down. When the sun goes behind the cloud, I'll lift it for you to have a look as well. All right, I'm just going to come in. I've got stuff on that plate. I'm literally going to pick it off onto here. This is that blue one that I keep grabbing. I'll flip it over for you to have a look in a minute. There you go. Now I'm going to put this to one side to stop me continually grabbing the same one all the time. There is a bit there that could come off. So that I don't keep focusing on the same one. I'd like to use different ones as we go along. Right, there you go. That's, oh, sorry about these lattice work. That's the top of my window. If I keep going darker and darker, it'll mean nothing unless I've got something behind it to look at. And I think, or to make it stand out, sorry. I think I want to do white. I'm almost definite I want to do white. So let's just pull in my 5x7 plate, and I think I'm going to add bits of white in this one. What was this called? This was the Polynesian something. I've lost a bit of paper. It's in here somewhere. It's Polynesian something. Geometric Polynesian. There you go. That's the way my brain is wired at the moment. So I think if I put white down there, lay this on top, and then how do I do this? Then I'll put the canvas on there. That'll do. That will work. Right. So I'm using just a white. It's quite a heavy bodied acrylic here. Not that overly matters. But I'm going to have a reasonably good coat on here. Right, and now I'm going to do something I wouldn't normally do. I'm going to put the fresh paint side down, and I'm going to do that because once I've finished with this, maybe when I lift it, I will end up with pieces underneath it. Now, here is this piece going this direction, that's going that direction. So I think I'm going to come in and actually touch that down as a section, just lifting pieces of it. See what I mean? I think I want to do the same down here, and I'm holding this on an angle so I'm not picking up the entire thing. I like that corner to have something as well. And I'm wondering whether I can do that rolling thing just so that I end up with a bit on the edge. I did, that's okay. Let's see if I can do that again somewhere. This isn't the easiest thing to film, guys, so please forgive me if I'm all over the place. I think maybe if I can just get a little bit more to come from this side. Sorry if my arms are in your face. Right, let's put that to one side. Oh, I wanted to cover that up slightly. Let's just go for it, Griffiths. What have you got to lose? It's a canvas. There you go. That continued that up. That's fine. I want that covered up slightly later on, but I'm not overly worried at the moment. Right. Before I pull that off, I want to clean that up with a bit of tissue. I've got loads of bits of tissue here. Let's put it over the top of the purple one. Let's clean this up a little bit, and then I'll choose something that could definitely do with a little bit of white added to it from my excess papers. I'm using tissue paper so that when I rub on this, I can go all the way down into the apertures in the mask or the stencil, whichever I'm using at the time, to pull the paint out of them, because then I've got this nice clean look in here. And that means that all that would be left underneath is vacant spots. And also I've got these nice pieces on the tissue. Now I've got plenty of this paint on here, so I may be doing another shape with that. Right, so let's lift that off there. See what I mean? I've got the extra pieces. Right, let's have a quick look through here. Right, this is a bit of a no-hoper for me, so unless I can get something of interest onto this page, this one is likely to never get finished. So I'm just going to randomly build on this one, just to clean it off a bit. There you go, that just gives me something on there. I'm not sure where this one's going, and to be honest with you, if it's not successful, I'll just do a complete paint cover of the whole thing and start again with it in here. Right, cellular membrane, I think, is what I want to do. Yes, let's do that one. Crusty bits on my paint, which then fell on my plate, which is exactly what I told you not to do. Does this cover this entire plate? No, it's this one I want to use. I don't, that's explain why I did what I just did. If I was to put this on here, then press the paper onto here, I would end up with the edges. However, if the mask or the stencil completely covers the plate I'm using, then the only bits I can pick up are the bits I want picked up. So I'm going to use the thin end of this to actually do that. Right. I'm hoping this isn't too dominant of a colour. I don't think it's going to be, but I'm always erring on the side of caution, obviously. Right. So I want to use this thinner edge end more than anything. Right, now it's going to be tricky again because I need to do the whole touching this canvas down, so. Okay, that gave me a little bit. I think I have to put it in there, to be honest. Let's put it this way on so that it actually, before I do that, let's repaint this bit, because I think that's quite an important area that I need to get covered properly. So this is going to go onto there. It's a little unusual working blind, which is how this feels. I mean, I know what I'm intending, but whether it actually translates until I turn the canvas over, I don't know. Okay, yes, I'm okay with that. Right, again, let's take that out of the way, and let's just get something to mop that up with. I'm going to use this one again. Again, just kissing it down, just tapping to pull up some colour. Sorry, everything keeps moving around on me. Even though I've got rubber feet on things, it keeps moving around. Let's just do that. Right, and as I've got this here and I've got this on my brayer, let's just do some strips on here just to clean off my brayer. I might as well clean it off on the piece of art that's got the same colour on it. Okay, I'm going to put this to one side, not because it's finished, but I think I shouldn't play with this anymore until I change my colour palette. Okay, I think we're getting very, very, very close to where I would like this to be. I still cannot work out for the life of me which way up it goes. For some reason this is bothering me here, and I think I'd like to try and punch that backwards. How do I do that? Okay, I've got a bit of copper on here anyway. Copper is a semi-transparent, I believe. Is it a semi-transparent? Yes, it's a semi-transparent. Well, that's how I'm reading that anyway, as a semi-transparent. I think I might just try and put a block of copper over there. And to do that, I'm going to need to use my little plate, right, to make sure it's not brutally stuck down, or I'll never get the sucker off without dropping it. Right, let's think this through, Griffiths. I'm going to turn this upside down so I can actually work quite quickly without breaking my wrist at the time. We don't want this too harsh. There's a plane going over the top. Hopefully someone's going to enjoy themselves. They're going on holidays or something. That'd be a nice thought for everyone. I'm trying to make decision as to what I'm doing next year, because I'm trying to catch up with everything I was supposed to do before the pandemic. So I want to take that edge and soften it. Okay, I'm not disliking that. Let's do that again. Possibly down there. So yes, I'm trying to make up my mind as to what I want to do next year as far as travel goes. I would absolutely love to catch up with Gail Augustinelli, because before the pandemic we were supposed to catch up for real, because we've never actually met. We were going to catch up at Creativation, but it didn't happen because of course COVID hit. Travel became a little daunting. I think that's probably the way I'd like to word that. So yeah, we didn't do it in the end. I think it was the one that was supposed to be in Florida or something. You'll have to remind me, Gail. I think it was Florida or Orlando, because I'm sure it was Florida, because Gail was going to go with her husband to Disneyland afterwards. And I've never been to Disneyland, Disney World, any Disney resort anywhere in the world. And funny thing is, I've worked in Paris, never went to Disney World. I've worked in Tokyo, never went to Disney World. I've worked in Florida, I've worked in California. I've just never got to Disney World. One day, maybe, one day. I've got friends actually working there, and they keep saying, will you just get on a plane and get over here? And I just haven't. I don't know what it is about it. I love the idea of it all. And I mean, I am a Disney fan. I like Disney. I think it's just all the people. Is that weird of me? Just thinking there's just too many people. Or is it just too many children? Because I like children, but I mean, I'm not a huge children fan. I'm not very good with crowds. The pandemic's left me not very good with crowds. There used to be a time when I was demonstrating and lecturing in front of thousands of people, and it never daunted me. But that's unfortunately one of the hangovers that has been left behind for me personally, is the whole thing to do with not fear of crowds, just I think fear of being in spaces where lots of people are talking. Okay, I'm going to let this sit for a second, and I'm just going to talk to you and show you the details I promised about PM Artist Studio. I think there's only 2 more things I'd like to do on this, and I think then it's potentially finished. And to be honest with you, I'm very happy at this, and I would do this again. So anyway, right, back to where we're talking. So Froyle Davies, artist in New Zealand. Look in the link down in the description box. I will put a link there to Froyle's, I think it was a live. Was it a live? No, I think it was a YouTube where she actually did the first collaging onto a canvas that I saw. And then in the same breath, I will put in the same position, I'll put a link to one of the lives that PM Artist Studio do to when Patricia was actually creating art pieces with small gel prints onto a piece of paper. So there you go, that's that. So PM Artist Studios are these people. That's Patricia, an ex-art tutor. This is Mariah, who is her daughter, who's a software illustrator. So basically between them, they've got knowledge, old school art techniques mixed with modern software, digital techniques. A great combination, great characters to watch. They do 3 different lives per week. Central means Central American time. This is where you can get hold of them. Look them up on the internet. They're based in Texas. If you want to join them in their lives, they do have ways that if you would sign up for stuff, you will get extra discounts as you order your products, which is very generous of them, and I love them for that. As I said, at the end of the video, I will share with you a discount code that I've been given for all of my subscribers and, as they've called them, fans. So I'm happy about that. I've got to clean this mat, it's an absolute mess. Okay, right, so where was I up to? Okay, I was going to play with putting Tangled Trudy on here again. And part of me is wondering whether I should, because I was going to use Wonky Net, which I normally use, but I'm wondering whether that's just a little bit predictable. I've only got visible one piece of this, and I quite like this, so I think Wonky Net may have to go bye-byes for another day. Let's pull this bigger plate in because this fits on here. Right, I'm getting stuff all over the place. Right, question is what colour? I think we're at the point where we need to add a bit of drama to this now. We need to be punching through. So if I lay that on there, the predominant colours are here, which says the predominant colours there. Now I've already added this colour into this, but I quite like... I'm wondering, I've got Quinacridone Violet. Now it's quite a fluid paint, so I'm not really... You know, the devil rewards the brave. Well, I don't know where that phrase came from, but that's what I'm using today. Right, let's try this. I'm not sure, guys. We're just... Am I in shot for this? Almost. So I'm going to brayer the paint out, and as you can see, it's a beautiful rich colour, that golden colour. Absolutely use it, but I use it sparingly. Right, I'm going to lie on top my mask. I think I'm going to get a clean bit of tissue paper at this point. Lay this over the top and gently press down to make sure I don't move this around. I want to try and get quite a sharp, dramatic image. I may have to do 2 pickups with tissue just to make sure I've got everything, but I'm working my fingers down into the spaces just to try and get as much as I can. Just gently lift that off. I hope it doesn't lift that off as well. Right, I've got some gunk in there, so I want to go back in and see whether I can take that up. I think at this point the mask is firmly entrenched on my plate, so I think I'm quite safe to use a brayer on it. Right. So let's just flip this plate over to see what I've got. So I do have quite dramatic pieces. Right, I need to think before I do this. This area here is calling to me, and so is that, but that makes it very triangular. Maybe that's what it needs though. Let's turn it this way because I'm tending to work very, very portrait. So let's take this off here. Now, the trick is going to be picking this up, maneuvering it, touching it down, and not sliding it. It's not normally how I do this, so put this bit here. That's good. Let's put that bit in there. I think I'm just going to add the other bit here. It's where it already is, which isn't a problem. I'm just reinforcing that. It's a little tricky because if this was paper or card, obviously the surface would suck the paint into it and it would adhere, whereas working on a canvas, it doesn't always want to pull off the mat. Okay, this is really beginning to annoy me, this one section. I'm going to have to do something about that. That's just, this I love, that I do not. So right, maybe if I do tangled net there, but do it where what I leave on there will actually look like that. Probably not as large as that. And then this goes over the top. That may not be as confusing, but I have to seriously consider what colour. Now, it needs to be an opaque. I'm sure it needs to be an opaque, or at least a semi-transparent. I wonder. I want it to be seen, but I don't want it to be seen, if all that makes sense. Is this separated? No, it hasn't. Some of my older paints have separated, so I'm a bit cautious. Right. This will either be the making or the not making of this one, guys. I think that's why I like gel printing. Because as you all know, I'm OCD, I have issues. And I think that gel printing for me is the perfect thing to do, because what it does is it means that I can't always control what happens, which for me is exciting. I can control what colours I put on the plate. I can control all the different contributing factors to it, but the thing I can't control is the result. And that's interesting. That, for me, that's very interesting. Right, making sure I press that really firmly down there. I'm going to come back in and do that again. Let's do it this way round, see if I can get my fingers down into there. So I think after this, as I said, I'm just going to do the black asemic writing. Although I must admit, I'm not quite sure whether I want it this way or this way. And what I mean by that is I don't know whether I want it in that corner or in that corner. All the way along, this has sort of been where I've been going, but I'm unsure at the moment. So I'm just going to leave this orientation so that when I put this gel plate down, I'm putting the paint where I want it to be. Right, let's lift this one off. So I've taken away the negative space. So as you can see, I'm now left with a grid, albeit a slightly messy grid, but that's actually more to my benefit here. So see if I can lift that up, flip it over. Hope I'm in camera, I'm trying to be. And put that down by there, give it a gentle press, just to make sure it's in contact. If I've got any left on this plate, I might put a little bit down in that corner. Right. I don't know whether that's getting better or worse. Right, let's leave that to one side and see what we did. Okay. I think we're done. I'm not messing anymore, and I am being drawn continually to my asemic writing going there. And I think that's where it's going to go. Right, I've got stuff on this plate which needs to come off onto something. So let's just lift this off because I need this plate to do. Now the thing is, I'm going to do black, but is black the right colour is what I'm asking myself. Black would certainly give drama. Yeah, I think black is what this needs. It needs a punch. It needs something to just punch all of this out of here. Right, I do want to clean up this plate because this is the one I'm going to be using. I don't really want to be picking up brown on the front of my asemic writing, so bear with me a second when we have a little clean up here. I'm hoping you've enjoyed this. I mean, it's a bit of a challenge when you try and do something that you've never done before, and you try and do it with basically an audience watching you. So, right, now this is going to be tricky because I'm going to have to put this on here, and then I'm definitely going to have to put this onto this because I can't pick this up and plant it on there. There isn't a way. Oh, or is there a way? If I braid the black onto this, then I could pick it up and put it onto that. Maybe that's what I want to do. Right, let's try and get this so that... Okay, that's nice and firmly down. Make sure it really is nice and firmly down. Now I'm going to have to be careful that I put enough ink on here, not ink, enough paint on here, but not too much paint, that it actually squishes underneath. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this little one. Let's move that out of the way a second. I'm going to use my little one as a palette to put it on there. Right, where is my black paint? I did buy new Mars Black. There you go. So, right, now Mars Black does dry relatively quickly. Actually, if I leave the lid off that just in case I need to touch more of it. So just using this as a palette. Now I'm going to have to be making sure I press down hard enough for it to go through the stencil into the background, but not too hard that it goes underneath it. And this is one of the advantages of having an acrylic plate under your gel mat, is because you should be able to turn this over and see where we're at, which is not good enough yet. It doesn't matter if it's ever so slightly missing pieces, because as far as I'm concerned that just makes it a little more vintagey. Right, I just want to give this one quick coating over the top because, as I said, it dries quickly, so I'm hoping that this will transfer. Right, let's get a shimmy on. I want to put it up there. Let's take this off. Let's just pick this up and put it down smoothly and squarely and not drop the little so-and-so. Okay, it's down. And I'm just going to let that sit there. I'm going to make sure it's fully in contact. And I'm going to breathe. I've got my hand underneath the canvas just to make sure that's fully in contact. And I'm going to let that sit for a second or two. I'm going to utilize this black. Well, first of all, I'm going to put the lid on my black. And I want to pull in the little bit of bubble wrap that I had before. And I think I just want to add a little odd of touch. Have I knocked you again? I'm sorry. That was my glasses that time. Clever glasses. Okay, see if I can get a little bit around the edge. I think that's going to be enough. Right, let's just see if I can put this onto here. Just literally just cleaning stuff off now, guys. Right, well, I've got that lot on the go. Grab this, lay this down here and see whether I've got anything on my brayer that I can get to go through this into the background. Not expecting a perfect anything, but it might just leave some interesting stuff, as well as clean my brayer and smooth some of the paint out. Oh, and there's Biscuit with the postman again. Why is it every time I do a video, Biscuit decides he wants to bark for the postman? I bet you the postman isn't even down there. So he's got into the habit now. I'm sure he knows I'm filming. So let's just clean that off. So I'm letting that sit for a few seconds just because I just want to make sure it's fully adhered, because it's not going to be good if I lift that up and it's not going to have done it. PM Artist Studio very kindly sent me my own discount code to share with you guys. So if you go over to the website and you put your stencil and masks into your basket, when you get to go check out, there's a box there that you can type this code into and it will give you an extra 10% off your order. So that's capital C lowercase ERI, capital F lowercase AN 10. That will actually get you an extra 10% off. I especially encourage you to use that if you're an international, because it will save on your shipping, and we all know shipping is the killer when it comes to ordering from abroad. So, okay, let's see how we're doing. I think we've done it. Now, remember, before I pull this off, I'm not expecting perfect. If anything, if it's slightly faded in areas, it will have that antiquated look to it. So, yes, that works. So I like that. I'm thinking this is a bit busy over here. Is that? It's funny, it looks different through the camera than it does there. I'm looking at this thinking I want to do something different over that. It's just ever so slightly distracting. Sorry, I thought I was done. Will I ever be done is the question. So hopefully I'm not wiggling this camera too much while I'm cleaning this off. Right, I think I just want something light on there. And I'm going to go back to the buttermilk. Maybe just a little bit more of the buttermilk. And I can't remember exactly what colour I put with it. I don't want to put orange with it. Maybe a bit of that transparent yellow. And just give that a bit of a brayering. Not intending it to be any specific colour whatsoever. And I think this needs to come up and just pop on there just as a really light something just to knock some of this back ever so slightly. I think that'll do. I think I'm happy with that. I think we did okay. I think we did okay. I'm not sure. As I said, I've not done one of these before. I do feel that it's a little bit... If I was to look at this, I would say the background isn't further enough back and the front isn't further enough forward, but I'm not really sure how I can make that more dramatic. I wonder. The only way I could do it, and it would be really, really risky, but I'm okay risking it. Right, let's just, we're having another moment, guys. Right, bear with me a second, I need to get something. Right, I've got a sponge. Where did I put the Mars Black eventually? There, put Mars Black there. Okay, I'm just going to cut a piece off this sponge, because I'm not happy with that not being as dramatic as I thought it was going to be. Even though I said I was, I'm not now. Now I'm going to take some masking tape and I'm going to try and line this up with this one. So this is a bit of a lesson in how to rectify stuff, guys. I don't even know whether rectify is the right word, but I think you understand what I mean by. I'm trying to line this up as perfectly as I can. Now I want to be really careful because the paint under here is wet, and I'm really hoping that this masking tape doesn't decide it wants to pull it off. But I do want to make sure that this mask or this stencil is actually held in place while I work. I would like it to be held in place while I work anyway. Right, just ever so slightly there. Now I shouldn't be too pushy with this, but we'll see whether I can make that even darker. So I'm going to pull in some paint. Obviously the Mars Black that I used. I've got a piece of the sponge, and I'm going to literally go in and go through the stencil onto the canvas. Just to re-enhance what was underneath it. As I said, this could work, it may not work. I mean, it might add the drama I was looking for. It might not add the drama I was looking for, but it's the only thing I can think of doing to make this look really wow. I need it to stand out more. It's fading into the background, which isn't pleasing me. Now, if this was paper, I would probably have done a pencil shading technique or something to bring it into the foreground, but as I'm dealing with a canvas, and having not done a canvas like this before, I'm a little unaware about how I can remedy stuff like this. I do hope I haven't ruined this now. I certainly couldn't have brayed over the top of this. I definitely could not have brayed over the top of this because I'm working on a soft surface. I could have done this onto a gel plate and then pressed the canvas onto it with something to lift it off. However, my problem with that is I would not have been able to line up the canvas perfectly without some sort of registration marks, and I don't want to mess it up. Please don't let me mess this up. Now, if this hasn't worked, I could always go in afterwards with a paintbrush and a black acrylic paint and actually just paint in those letters. Just try to see the bits that look as if they're light. Okay, that's a lot more of what I was thinking of. I can live with that. So I think we're going to call it quits. Well, not thinking we're calling it quits. We are calling it quits. I'm calling that done, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I will endeavour to do another one of these at some point, maybe in the other orientation. Hopefully you've enjoyed that. I mean, I have. I mean, I do need to sign it because I think everyone needs to sign their work. I did manage to do the edges quite well. I'm happy with that. Hopefully you can see all of those. Not much on the bottom, but does there need to be? I'm okay. That's cool. That was an interesting exercise. A good one. Thank you for the inspiration, Mariah and Patricia, and thank you for the inspiration, Froyle. So, have a good... I think that just leaves me to say goodbye. So I'm Ceri the Crafter. That's Ceri the Crafter. Until next time. Bye-bye, guys.